Okay, looks like the sport is going to be waving the white or green flag. It's not great news. So, what's happened? What's going on? The ABKC, the Association of British Kart Clubs, which, if you don't know, acts as a regional body for Motorsport UK. If you want to be a Motorsport UK club, you have to be a member of a regional body. A regional body acts as a conduit between Motorsport UK and the individual clubs. You don't have to be a member of the ABKC. If you're a kart club, you can be a member of any other of the regional bodies, but most kart clubs in this country, almost all of them, are a member of the ABKC, bar a couple of exceptions. Though you know what the ABKC is. Slightly confusing because they used to have more power with decision making and that kind of stuff, but not so more. They act as more of an advisory body for Motorsport UK on behalf of karting, or the kart clubs. So what have they said? And the new green karting agenda. Let's read. ABKC launches campaign to make karting cleaner and greener. Okay, just bear with me. The Association of British Kart Clubs is leading a campaign to help make kart racing a cleaner, greener and more sustainable sport. First mistake is to admit defeat. The first thing I would have put is karting already is quite, relatively speaking, a green sport. Green, if you want to use that word. I think it's meaningless almost nowadays. Karts are very small and very light. It means you don't need a lot of space to store them or maintain them. It means you don't need a lot of space and a lot of fuel to take them to the kart circuit. We also take up less land than car racing. We can have a meeting of 250 drivers at Wilton Mill, for example. So already straight away, this press release is a mistake because they haven't put one interjection of how good karting is compared to other motorsports. And the reason for that is because Motorsport UK is a predominantly car racing governed sort of governing body, right? The people in charge are all car races. They wouldn't ever allow karting to say, wait a second, we're far better than you already, okay? And we can presume that this statement from the ABKC has not come from, but certainly the mood music at Motorsport UK is very much in line with this. And as the ABKC is a conduit between Motorsport UK and the individual clubs, this kind of thing comes from the top. It's really not a criticism of ABKC as much as it's criticism of Motorsport UK and how they're exposing kart racing. So let's continue. The organisation, which represents the UK's leading kart clubs running Motorsport UK licensed racing, is challenging all areas of the sport to rapidly come up with changes in operation and new ideas to reduce the carbon footprint of the sport. I've got some ideas, real green ideas, and you ain't going to like them. And this is where the crux of the matter is. And for its own members, it is going to offer an annual financial prize starting next year for the club that does the most to help the environment. Well, the most to help the environment would be less karts racing. Financial incentive to do less well. It reads a bit weird here, so it's not me. It says ABKC Chairman Nigel Edwards, we all love the sport, but we have to accept that given the concerns over the environment we live in, we need to do everything we can to reduce any harm the sport does to the world. Okay, this is very strong words. If every club, every manufacturer and every driver does something, then it will make a real difference to our own sport. And we need to start that right now. Clubs are, well, in my opinion, it isn't really going to make any difference there at all. Clubs have been urged to work with venues to look at ideas such as recycling various types of waste, planting trees, making use of solar power, rainwater harvesting and creating areas for natural plant growth. So quickly, with planning permission, that kind of stuff already is implemented. Like it kind of is already there. You know, it's like, where are you going to plant trees and have plant growth at a kart circuit without putting the drivers in danger? Because you can't just plant trees anyway. It'd have to be on the out. It's just, I don't know how viable that really is. Kind of planting trees, making use of solar power. Kart circuits, you don't really need any power to run a meeting anyway. It's not very power intensive. You need a timing system and some other bits and bobs. Rainwater harvesting. Okay. And it says equally important, reducing the use of non-reusable plastics cable ties. Okay, cable tie police, here we come. I go scrutineering like you fail it on having too many cable ties. Sorry, sir, that's you failed scrutineering. At the same time, ABKC are asking manufacturers and drivers to do something in a way they build and make use of cars. A very opaque, meaningless statement. What does that mean? How does it matter how they make use of carts? Well, carts are used for racing. Well, it's a very strange statement. It's not been very well thought through. I think it's strategically and politically. There's several mistakes, like the car thing. For starters, we're already ahead of the game, and we're admitting. And use of large number of tyres is also a concern. Though offset of some circuits by then being used for corporate rental carts to maximise their use. In that electric kart video I did last year, I spoke about tyres at length, also with the 100 UK video for a long time now. And I think cadets do it in some instances, like using these like a set a day it's not an environmental thing. I said, it will be an environmental thing if we don't act on it, because people will spot it. But primarily my motivation is to reduce costs for the racers, right? But yeah, having tyre limits that go for more than one race, so maybe 3 to 4 to 5 races, as they do with NKC and 100 UK, that's just obvious. But will they do it? Because I ain't seen a big movement to get rid of D5s in road tax, which are like, bubblegum essentially, relative to everything else. And Nigel adds Nigel, I don't know why it's written that way. We all need to look at what we're doing and how we can change that for the better. We can no longer afford to shrug our shoulders. Okay, so there's a lot of problems here, and this is basically the beginning of the end of karting as we know it. The thing is, when people want to make big changes, they do things incrementally, right? David Richards, head of the Motorsport UK, has already stated that he wants electrification of karting, right? But they know they can't introduce that overnight. And the actual way they're going to introduce it, my belief, is I'm not sure it's going to ever be a marketable product. It's going to have to be arrive and drive, You have to do things incrementally. So if you want to, for example, if you want someone to have a big sign in their garden that says vote X, Y or Z, you don't say, we put a big sign in your garden that says vote X, Y or Z. You say, can you put this small sign in? And most people will accept. Most people will not accept a big sign. But if you can get them to accept a small sign, when you come back a month later and say, can we have a bigger sign? Generally, they're more open to that than they would be if you just came in with, can you have this big sign in your garden? It's basic psychology 101. Get people to make very small changes, and eventually they'll be more comfortable making the big changes. So when you read this statement, you have to read and say, what's the bigger picture here? And I don't think the ABKC and the people that wrote this statement have know the implications of what they've done, what they've invited. They've invited a monster to the party. And basically, rather than setting karting and saying karting is already ahead of the game and promoted the good things about karting over other motorsports, like I've already described, we're much lighter. You can transport many more karts in a truck than you can a car, right? We're way ahead of the game in that sort of regard. Way ahead of the game. Like F1 team has 3 trucks for like 1 car or 2 cars. I could fit 200 carts in. And do you understand what I'm saying here, right? We don't say how good karting is. All they've gone is gone, right, the statement is we can no longer shrug our shoulders and we need to do something right now. Karting, we need to reduce the damage it does to the world. So they've not said that karting is already pretty good. They've said, right, the base level is karting is bad and we need to look at how we can reduce the harm to the environment, and we can't shrug our shoulders. Now, I've been vegan for 10, 11 years. I've been to marches. I've put on events. I've been part of the eco... I'm not part of them. I've been, let's say, around them. I've always been quite offish with them because of the way that they talk about things, and what the true solution to the problem that they think exists, and all that kind of stuff. So I know how they think. So as someone in karting who's very aware of what ecoism is and all that kind of stuff, what the ABKC have done is has given me an open invitation to address every single facet of karting that's environmentally bad. Okay, let's reduce the level of cable ties, right? No one's going to look at that and go, cool, I'm going to do something good for the environment. No, that's bad for the environment, and they've reduced it. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. We're going to look at it and go, right, how can we drastically improve? And I think, did they put drastically improve in the statement? Yeah, we need to start right now and make a real difference. That will make a real difference to our own sport. Want a real difference, okay. There's one solution: tyres. Tyres should last 3 races, 4 races, easy. Cost benefit, done. Right, but let's talk about other things. We need to campaign to stop new circuits being built because of the environmental destruction that it causes. And nobody's going to tell... People will come to you and they'll say, oh, but it's this, it's that, it's investment in green, blah, blah, blah. Nonsense. We should not be building kart circuits over land. That land needs to be kept for biodiversity, habitat protection, and all of the other stuff. We can't be building... And the only time you can really justify building is for housing, I guess. Not for kart circuits, it's the discretionary activity. It's not good use of land. Now, I'm playing devil's advocate because I know on the other flip side of that, there's economic benefits, dragging people out of poverty, and that's probably where I really am thinking. What I'm doing is, just for those viewing, I'm playing devil's advocate and putting on the hat of taking this statement seriously and what it really means. So, if this is a real statement, this is what it really means. No new circuits. None. And if you're building a new circuit, then you are one of the persons that's shrugging your shoulders. You're not doing anything good for the environment, no matter what you tell yourself. We've got so many kart circuits in the UK, we're saturated. We do not need any more. What else? If you serve meat at a kart club, are you doing all you can to reduce your carbon footprint? No, you should stop. It should all be vegan, plant-based. Plant-based. Let's not say vegan. It will be plant-based. Every single... I mean, weirdly enough, I would ethically have to push that button. You know, I couldn't actually say no to me if if it was a choice given to me. But I'm talking about, remember their very words. We need to do everything we can to reduce any harm the sport does to the world. I think plant-based food, right? Let's see how much support you find at the ABKC for plant-based diets. So that's the next thing we need to do. No new circuits. Plant-based food at the circuits. Okay, we'll just softly enter in here. Okay, we need to reduce the number of championship rounds at Motorsport UK British Championship immediately. Any more than 1 or 2 rounds, there's no need for it. The travel is environmentally damaging. Travel across the country, bang. 1 round, British Championship for each class. World Championship works that way, the British Championship should work that way. Remember, if you're not implementing these changes, then me, as the devil's advocate, and a lot of what I'm saying here is kind of in line with what's being suggested by the ABKC. You are shrugging your shoulders and you're being environmentally not very responsible. Okay, remember, don't shrug your shoulders. So, okay, so we got to sack off all of the Motorsport UK rounds. We're going to have to look at the internal combustion engine. We're 2-strokes, man. I mean, I think we should celebrate the fact we all race 2-strokes and still live in that freaking ring-a-ding dream, you know what I mean? 2-stroke till I die. But I'm not sure how we could have a cleaner, sustainable karting while pumping out all of the emissions that we do. It's like... I don't see how anybody can take this kind of statement seriously, right? This has to be sort of the first increment towards electric karting. We'll probably have to sack off owner-driver karting totally and be entirely in drive. I mean, Club 100 is probably more efficient than a club race, right? Because all the karts are taken to the circuit in one truck rather than tons of trucks and tons of cars, because you've got the teams that go in and then the cars. Probably not in all efficient vehicles. So probably this is the beginning of the end of owner-driver karting if the ABKC are serious about what they're saying here. You know, this is... the problem is you have people that go, this is great from the ABKC, great leadership. There's nothing in here that's anything real. No real suggestions. I'm giving the real suggestions. This is what going green really means. Let's say... Implement another thing. Could do this. Implement from a licensing perspective. You're only allowed to travel over 100 miles to a club meeting once a year. So you have to race at your local circuits. You can't. So that way you actually break the monopoly of certain circuits on club grids because it's sort of centralised quite a lot. So I could say, right, if you're, if you don't race at your local Motorsport UK club, you can only go once or twice a year. Now, remember, I'm playing devil's advocate, but at the same time, it's like this. it's kind of what I'm saying is in line with this idea of cleaner, more sustainable motorsport. One chassis a year, okay, maybe that's implementable, and that'll be the first path to complete arrive and drive electric karting. Whether electric karts are green or not doesn't really matter because this is all political. So I'm not sure really anyone's prepared for the monster they've invited to the party here. I understand the political pressure that's coming, and maybe we really are on borrowed time. But making your logo green, calling yourself cleaner, greener, more sustainable karting, and this kind of defeatism, this is not really good news, because every aspect of karting now has to be questioned, has to be justified. You have to justify why you go karting, you've got to justify why you're doing a sport that apparently is so environmentally destructive. For me, I talk about economics. My true belief is like economics and business is we drag people out of poverty when we have a thriving business, a thriving economy. Sort of green movement is about suppressing the economy, suppressing growth and causing more poverty. It's a very difficult balance to find. But when we talk about a statement like that, that statement isn't saying we need to grow the sport. That statement, if we take it absolutely at its core, it's a statement of degrowth of the sport. And they probably don't realise that. But the only way to make karting green is to make it smaller. And that sounds extreme, but you've got to understand how eco-activists think. And if they will glue their heads to the M25 about insulation, what do you think they're going to do when their attention moves towards motorsport? We've politically and philosophically, we've already waved the white flag. So it'll just be a walkover, It's quite funny. I mean, the funny is, like, it's weird because my way of karting is probably the greenest way you can be. No pods, no plastic on the karts. I don't eat any meat, and people always hear me say that. I'll get annoyed by it, but tough. I don't have any kids. Race karts that were manufactured years ago, because this is the thing. New manufacturer causes carbon emissions. Building new engines, See, the thing is, there are manufacturers and people that are part of the ABKC committee and the Facebook groups. They manufacture two-stroke engines, and it's like, that's the end for you. It's bye-bye. You're finished. How can you tell people to go green and then have two-stroke engines? Like, maybe if you had a fuel-injected two-stroke engine, direct injection, you could kind of get away with it for another couple of years. I don't know. I think, first of all, I know I'm blabbering on, and if you're with me at this point, congratulations. I know some of you will drop off. But we really need a kind of a more defensive or offensive action. Waving the white flag is not good, because some nutter like me who actually suddenly has the intent to go after karting. I mean, I've seen the rejections for planning for kart circuits, and this is the thing. This is what gets me. People think saying green and all that will make a difference. It doesn't. Like, take cars, for example, and I know I'm deviating. You go, okay, cars are polluting. Engine. We need to ban engines from city centres and go electric. So they all go electric. What happens? Do you think the people get happy? No, they go, oh, brake dust is environmentally damaging and toxic. See, the thing is, once you give one bit of ground, you basically give it all. Because if it goes brake dust, and then someone says, right, electric cars are bad for the environment, and that will happen eventually. So we need to ban cars, and you need to do public transport. And then eventually people say public transport's bad because you don't need to travel anymore because you can work from home. So I think kart racing as a sport, the failure with this is, I understand the political pressure that the ABKC are coming under from Motorsport UK. But they've just rolled over and they're showing their belly, and the monsters that are invited to the party, I don't think they're prepared for. Because it took me 5 minutes to just deconstruct the whole sport from an eco standpoint. You can't make karting eco-friendly. Planting a few bushes, using a few less cable ties, having a few solar panels. doesn't make any difference. The things that really make a difference, I suspect not one person on the ABKC committee would be ready to implement. And when they don't implement it, which they won't implement, because there's no chance it can be vetoed by a plant-based club, is there? Zero chance of that. Then they are shrugging their shoulders and they're turning the other cheek. They're being the very people that they're advising not to be. This is... I don't know. There's no solution here. I just don't know what sort of peril the sport might be in 5 to 10 years. I suspect the move is going to be probably a 10-year plan. Arrive and drive electric karts. And, that's going to be it. And that's going to be about as good as we can hope for. I mean, I don't want that. I'll be out of sport by then, I think. I'll be out of sport probably much sooner than that. So, yeah. Something to worth thinking about. I'd love to hear your comments on this. I think it's complete baloney and doesn't add up, because the real solutions no one's going to want to implement. And then, so I think, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. I know I've blabbered on for 21 minutes now. It's just, I don't know. It just feels like the beginning of the end. And we had a good run. I think we had a good run, didn't we? I know a few people are going to come and attack me and say, you're criticising them for this, criticising them for that. But it's so badly written. It's so badly written, and there's no strategy, and it's just annoyed everybody. The sport probably needs a new direction, because that ain't how you grow karting. That's how you destroy it, and it's being destroyed with the sort of facade of protecting it and making it more sustainable. Not good news, but anyway, I'm done. Thanks for watching, and let's enjoy these last few years if we can.